Hi, I'm Aslam Moolla and I am a registered attorney. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about discrimination in the workplace. What is discrimination? What to do about discrimination? Those are the two specific things that we're going to be addressing. What is workplace discrimination? Now, discrimination occurs when an employer treats an employee differently based on physical attributes or other factors that are objective. For example, their religion, their political belief, their sexual orientation, the fact that they're male or female, etc. Now, discrimination is not always unfair in South African law. There can be fair discrimination, and an example of that would be affirmative action policies, which are passed by the government in order to make sure that everyone has some kind of access to the economy. So just because you're being discriminated against doesn't make it unfair. The question is, what is unfair discrimination then? Unfair discrimination occurs when an employer shows favor, prejudice, or bias against someone or for someone on a specifically prohibited ground. Let me say that again. Unfair discrimination happens when your company shows someone else or you either favor or prejudice based on a prohibited ground. What is a prohibited ground? Examples are race, gender, sex, pregnancy, marital status, ethnicity, social origin, color, sexual orientation, age, disability, religion, and the list goes on. Now, there are two forms of discrimination. There can be direct discrimination or indirect discrimination. An example of direct discrimination is where it's very easily identifiable that the employer is treating two people differently. For example, employees or even job applicants. For example, when an employer follows a policy of paying men more because they are men, whereas females earn less in the workplace, that would be a form of direct discrimination. What's indirect discrimination? Indirect discrimination, on the other hand, is not so easy to identify. It's more undercover in the workplace. And this could be in workplace policies or practices where the effect of those things cause discrimination in a particular area. Now, the important thing to understand is we've got to look at the Employment Equity Act. What does the Employment Equity Act states? It states that harassment of any employee is a form of unfair discrimination. Medical testing of an employee cannot be done unless that person has given consent. HIV testing, any kind of testing, those can also be forms of discrimination if the policies are not done fairly. Now, when can a discrimination be done fairly? Remember, we said earlier, not all discrimination is unfair. The law states that it is not unfair discrimination if the employer takes affirmative action measures in terms of the Employment Equity Act. That's not going to be unfair discrimination. Or where the employer makes specific requirements for a job because those are the requirements. For example, going to cut trees in the forest, you're going to need able-bodied, strong individuals. Is a 55-year-old female suitable for that job? No. The inherent requirement is someone who's 20 or 30 years old, who's got a physical build to go and cut the trees, load the logs onto the truck, etc. That would be a form of fair discrimination. We're not going to cover affirmative action in this particular video. We might do it in a later video on our YouTube channel. What steps can you take, essentially, if there is unfair discrimination? If you believe that you are a victim of unfair discrimination in the workplace, you have a right to approach the CCMA. But first, very important, you must lodge a grievance in writing. This means you must give the employer an opportunity to remedy the situation. You can send the matter to the CCMA. You have 6 months to do so from the date the discrimination has occurred. What will happen at the CCMA is that conciliation will take place. That's to see if the matter can be resolved amicably between you and the company. And if that fails, you can either refer the matter to arbitration if you earn less than the threshold, or to the labor court. The commissioner at conciliation will be able to advise you. If you want us to review your case, you're more than welcome to click the link below and book an appointment with our office. I wish you all the best, and I'll speak to you soon.